Mike's Daily Podcast.
Well, I am Mike Matthews, and I am doing a show for you on the radio. Oh, wait, it's not on the radio. It's on the internet. It's a podcast. It's exciting. I was talking to someone yesterday about podcasting, and they were like, oh, I want to do a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, you can do one. You can do one. But can you do many? Can you do 1,707? That's what today's episode is.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
1707. I'm your host, Mike Matthews. Yesterday's show was
Mike's Daily Podcast
called Blase, and I know that you might have thought, Mike, that's weird. Why would you call a show Blase? That you heard here. These lyrics are interesting. I'm singing to you right now, and I hope you enjoy them, even if your name is Crazy Cow.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Don't moo over my lyrics, dagnabbit. I'm Mike.
Daily
Let's do the show.
Podcast.
Today we're going to discuss...
Yeah!
I don't know how Hugh Hewitt got Chuck Grassley on the other morning that I was telling you when I said on the podcast, I just heard Chuck Grassley on Hugh Hewitt saying that Professor Blasey Ford wasn't going to testify, or she hadn't replied yet to his emails. Look who just walked in. And I just mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast. It turned out that interview that Hugh Hewitt did with Chuck Grassley ended up like on all these podcasts I listened to. It was interesting to me anyway. I guess this podcast is only interesting to me. Except this person here that just walked in. Hi, Mike. How y'all doing? It's Benita the Rodeo Queen.
It's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you what.
What?
Hugh Hewitt's name is too difficult to say.
It is very difficult. The Hugh and then the other Hugh. And then, like, look, your face has a interesting hue. Or, what was the thing that Costanza said, George Costanza? I like a nice hue on a woman when he was describing his desirable lady. Breathing.
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's with someone else who walked into Cafe Anyway with all the other people that walked in and interrupted me. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floor Man, and I enjoy being on your show. It's great. Oh, Basil! Basil interrupted me. I'm offended.
But if you get offended, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Floyd, it's great having you in the podcast picture today, which you can see at mikesdailypodcast.com. Go to that wonderful website now as I shout into the microphone, because at that website there are all the past shows. Links to all the past shows. Some of those links have expired. If they have, I can't freaking keep up on every 1,707 of them. I do this show on my own. Listen, I know some people start podcasts, let's say about, let's get into a technical, mature subject here, orgasms. To kids out there, orgasms are, well, not important right now. Wait till, in a little while. Organisms is what you should be interested in. Organisms, little things. What's that? That's a caterpillar. What's that? Oh, it's a butterfly. The caterpillar turns into the butterfly. What's that? That's a bee. What's that? That's a bird. Uh-oh. Let's not discuss the birds and the bees. That might get a little interesting on this podcast today, which is not a good thing.
Which is a very good thing. Which is a very, very good thing.
But yes, birds and bees. Now, back to the O word that I mentioned earlier. There is a show on Netflix called Explained. And they were describing why women did not have O's for a long time. And it was pretty much expected that women would not have O's for a long time. Long ago. For many years in our history as a planet. And, in recent years... And I say recent. I know there was discussion about this. I always find it fascinating as a male. For, I don't know, just random reasons. That would be. So what happened, there was the book by Erica Jong. Was it back in the 70s? That was a big book about kind of talking about that. The Joy of Sex was a big book. And more books, of course, over the years. Now there are podcasts about this subject, about O's. And this young lady, she looks really young. She was in this Netflix show. And they had her on because, well, she has a podcast about O's. She apparently never had an O when she had her boyfriend. And then she had to discover O's later on. And she just, she just had this attitude of, like, she described how she bought a toy. A neat little toy. Not from Toys R Us. A different type of toy. Which apparently that industry is growing, so to speak. Big. So to speak. Big. And it's billions of dollars, apparently. And
why make trillions when we could make billions?
So she does this podcast about how O's are important. And when she bought a toy, she says this on camera, she experienced several O's, and a couple other things transpired with her and this toy. And the interesting thing is that, well, I said to my lovely lady friend after watching that, I said, you know what? There might be some ladies out there who never experienced an O and might try and experience what she was experiencing with the toy. And they may not achieve that much greatness of wonderment as she. That's kind of, what I was saying was, this girl who does this O podcast possibly has set the bar way too high for women to achieve that had never achieved it before. And she kind of came off smug, and my lovely lady friend agreed, and there was this sort of a what the hell, why did Netflix even put this woman in this podcast or their explained show? And I'll tell you why. It's eyeballs, my friend, eyeballs. There's no such thing anymore in documentary making and filmmaking as just leaving the camera on someone and just have them talk to the camera and go, oh yeah, my first experience, blah, 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 blah. No, the camera's got to constantly switch angles for you can't let the camera stay on someone longer than 5 seconds. Next time you watch a documentary or a news program, please be aware of that. You'll see that. Why I bring this up is because it's sad, and it shows that the attention span of America is nothing now. It's nothing. We can't just watch something on a video screen of someone just talking to the camera, of someone just trying to tell their story. You got to have the camera move back and forth. You got to have these graphs and animation. You got to have, so much has to be going on. And it's the dumbing down of America. That's me. But I hope you have a great O later on today. Or possibly during this podcast. I don't know. Oh, well, this podcast is going well so far. Then she used the term boss bitch. Because after she had all these O's, she said, and I was a boss bitch. It's eyeballs, my friend. It's all about eyeballs. And there's too much editing going on. Too much. Needs to throttle back. But all that is wonderful, and maybe you live in this world and you are excited by all these fast edits and jump cuts on YouTube, and you don't even notice these things and you don't care. I did listen to a talk show that featured... Oh, we didn't say hi to this guy, by the way.
Oh, Mike, I make the delicious root beer. Have some. Oh, boy. Oh.
Yes, indeed. Delicious root beer, thank you.
Drink it or I'll cut you.
Okay.
Go!
Oh. The point is, this guy, Mark Davis, annoys me. Oh my God, Mark Davis. Now, I work with a guy named Mark Davis at KKIQ. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. I can't say enough nice things about Mark Davis. This Mark Davis, so I'm talking about, is another guy, and he fills in for talk radio stations. If you listen to conservative talk radio, which I know you do because this has a liberal stamp on it, this podcast, and I just bashed all the, well, let's say, let me back this up. As I back up, Mark Davis was discussing the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing and the whole Professor Christina Blasey Ford of Palo Alto, who has had to go into hiding. She has had so many death threats, and that pisses me off. Do I think she's... Oh, frick, who did that? Somebody took out one of my... Oh.
That's not even funny.
Took out one of my Obamas. There's this guy that uses my sound effect page, and if you click on a sound effect too long and you drag it, you can block out another sound effect, and then I have to try and remember what that sound effect was because you've just erased it. Damn idiot. This guy, but back to Mark Davis, the other idiot. He is this windbag, and he talks, he's got his microphone really up loud when he does his show, and his headphones are really loud, and you know he's just in love with his own voice. Am I in love with my voice? No. I use it to try and express my ideas, to try and get a friggin' thought out. And sometimes I can't get my thoughts out.
Whoa.
I know. But that's just, I gotta do it.
Do it!
What I'm saying is Mark Davis just cannot get his show. He is always bashing this woman, the Professor Blasey Ford. He's bashing her, and he's like, we shouldn't even listen to what she says. This is all Democrats. This is them trying to make sure Brett Kavanaugh doesn't get put into the Supreme Court. So we shouldn't even listen to her. Which to me, I don't know if Mark Davis cares or not, but half the country hates him now. There's not a woman alive who would say, Mark Davis, you're absolutely right. Women should not be listened to. Mark Davis, go back to the 1950s, Mark Davis. Idiot Mark Davis. I really wanted to call in the show, but then I'm like, yeah, I work for the company that's carrying this show. I think I'm disqualified. But I ain't gonna play Sun City now. Hey, 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 hey. One of the shows that I produce, they brought up the song Ain't Gonna Play Sun City, which was done by an anti-apartheid band, a group, an assemblage of different artists in the mid-'80s. And I forgot, if you watch the music video, it looks like it's just chopped up. It's done really on the cheap. But back then, it was so difficult or expensive to make even a music video like that. And you've got Peter Gabriel in it, Bob Dylan, Jackson Browne, all these 80s artists. Run DMC shows up in it. There's some African artists. There's Lou Reed. And the cast is amazing of people that are saying, ain't gonna play Sun City. The guy who sang in the Jay Giles band, Peter Wolf, the guy that sings My Blood Runs Cold, My Memory Has Just Been Sold, Angel Is a Centerfold. That guy, Peter Wolf, who I think I sat next to in a deli in Nashville once called Noshville. I think he was sitting in the booth next to me. Hey, I didn't even get to the whole Oakland thing yesterday. I went to Oakland to see where my lovely lady friend works. She's a therapist. Which, by the way, there's just, this whole Brett Kavanaugh thing, whether he did it or not, it does bring up, and all part of the hashtag #MeToo, there's just people. My lovely lady friend is helping people in her therapy sessions that have gone through, there's a lot of abuse happening. Men are abusing women psychologically, physically. Just, it needs to stop. It's terrible. But obviously it's terrible and obviously it needs to stop, but it's just so disheartening to hear about it. And it wears on my lovely lady friend as well. And she, just like, what's going on in this world? But unfortunately, it's happening and it needs to stop. And so people like Mark Davis that say don't listen to the professor in Palo Alto, those idiots need to be shouted down. And like, who was it, the senator or the congresswoman from Hawaii said, men need to they need to cowboy up, or whatever she said. And this has to do with them, and they need to deal with it, the fact that this is an issue, and there shouldn't be all this whining from the Republican side. And I know as I say that, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, the Democrat side, Bill Clinton, and then the countless other idiot Democrats. The Weiner, yes, the guy named Weiner. Was it Anthony Weiner? There was the Blasio guy. Did he did something, or was that just money? At any rate, yeah. But still, it needs to stop. So, back to Oakland yesterday. Oh my God, the pot. There's so much pot being smoked around Lake Merritt like you wouldn't believe. You cannot even walk 5 feet and not get a big puff of secondhand marijuana in your face. It's Contact Highland. It's a very interesting place.
All right.
Lake Merritt. And I took my wonderful dog, Basil the Boxer, there. We walked around. He's now 10, as I mentioned earlier. And there's this one guy that came up to us. And Basil, has the hip dysplasia. So his front legs move fine. His back legs kind of waddle a little bit. And this guy is like, oh my God, is he okay? Oh, he looks... That's so sad. It's so sad. And I go, he's fine. Look, he's walking. He's fine. He's not in pain. He's leading me. He's telling me he wants to go this way. I'm following Basil. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, what's causing that? Hip dysplasia. Oh, that's sad. So sad. Yes, that's what I discovered at Lake Merritt. Oh, and a guy, it's fun to be hated. It really is. This guy is like yelling at the top of his lungs. And I'm down right by the water's edge at Lake Merritt. Beautiful little lawn area. And there's some homeless encampments. Actually, there's a lot of homeless encampments. I have it on authority from several Oakland residents, past Oakland residents, that it has gotten worse. Really bad, especially in the Lake Merritt area. People, anywhere there's grass, they put up their tents and they live there. And that's I hadn't been there and walked around in a while, so to see all these tents put up. And this one guy is yelling at me, who's coming from one of these encampments, just yelling at me. He was yelling at me. It was weird because he was using the MF word, and by that marshmallow fudge. I wish. And he's calling me. He said, you're all attached to the Matrix. Look at you walking that dog. You think you're all cool. I hate you. I hate you. I hate your kind. I hate you. And then he called me a word that rhymes with whoosh. And I just ignored him. Kept walking. But I was like, if he gets any closer... Because you never know. They might have a knife. Anyone can have a knife. You just got to be careful in this world, especially with all the weird stuff like in Oakland that happened at the MacArthur BART station. 2 women were stabbed fatally. So that happened recently. Just good to keep the eyes, especially when someone's yelling and seems really angry and unhinged. But we'll leave this show on a brighter note. Let's leave it on the fact that I've done 1,707 FF episodes, and we covered a lot of topics. Thank you I know it jumped around like a House of Pain song, but we tried to get to some topics. And I hope I painted the world for you today from the Bay Area in somewhat of a way. the end of the show. Next show, it's going to be the wonderful Madame Rutabaga Valentino Bison Bentley. We'll do that, okay.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!